welcome to Running is Bullshit. I'm Amy.
And I'm Stuart, and you're listening to the podcast that loves to hate running. And to start this week, instead of talking bollocks, Amy, I want to talk about bollocks.
I don't. Can we not?
Look, we've talked about lady things, gross lady stuff,
true.
so many times on this podcast. It's time to just talk about balls. I've got some new shorts, and they go alongside, a couple other pairs of shorts I have. Now, one of the pairs of shorts I have are branded with my club logo, and they are loose. Like, the lining inside them, very loose, very risky. Like, if you kind of run a little bit fast, there's risk that things end up not where they're supposed to be.
Okay.
But I've got this new pair of shorts that are like proper, like Nike racer shorts, and they are cut so high. Like, I've never had shorts that like come right, almost like basically have my hips out, which I think is probably normal for a lot of people. It's not for me. The lining in them, very tight, very narrow. And again, just it feels very risky. I guess there needs to be a tightness there to keep everything in place. But just when they're so narrow as well, it's not quite doing the job that I need it to. Now, I'm not boasting or anything, but I'm just saying it makes me nervous. Like, again, another pair of shorts.
It makes me nervous.
Yeah, absolutely, you should be. So, like, the 2 out of, like, the 3 pairs of shorts I have, I'm not sure I can cycle in for very different reasons. Well, actually, this is for the same reason, really, but in just different ways. So, it's a minefield. It's probably, again, something you've never needed to think about.
I was just going to say, like, it's not something that's spoken about too much because there's all the stuff around sports bras. We know all the issues around sports bras. Yeah. And also, like, I guess sports bras are less talking about boobs and stuff. It's like, it's not as private, Boobs are just boobs. They're there to be babies. Like,
it's a thing that everyone talks about now. It's
just like, it's fine. It's no big deal. Who cares? But, like, talking about your bits, stuff getting shaved, I think that's a bit more, like, people don't want to talk about it.
And it does happen. I'm pretty sure we've covered it. There's been a couple of instances that I remember in the news of people running and things fall out. I'm sure it's like a 400-meter runner, maybe something like that. And there's definitely been a marathon runner who's finished with his cock out. And it's because of these shorts. And so I want to raise awareness of proper sized lining for running shorts. If anyone has any testicle stories, delighted to hear them.
No pictures though, please.
No pictures. No, I think we've talked about chafing before, and that's a whole issue. But this is just an issue of concealment. The
thing is, as well, I can imagine... Well, it's hard for me to imagine. I'm not that familiar with the male anatomy. But I can imagine that it is like a minefield because there's so much going on down there. Like, keeping everything in place. Like, your boobs are just your boobs, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, like, pretty straightforward. But I feel like there's a lot going on down there to keep under control.
Thank you very much. Yeah, because I guess there's like, you must get lining in women's shorts, but it's fairly straightforward. It's just kind of...
I don't really understand what it's for, actually, when there's lining in women's shorts, to be honest. I think it's so you don't have to wear underwear, but I don't know. A lot of my shorts aren't lined, to be honest. I have had shorts from Nike, actually, that have like pants built into the shorts, like underwear built into the shorts.
Yeah, this is kind of what I'm talking about. It's that kind of thing.
But often they aren't. I mean, I know other people might tell me differently, but often they aren't. I mean, I wear men's shorts now because I just like my shorts a little bit longer, so obviously they've got lining in. But a lot of the women's shorts I've had in the past don't tend to have lining in. Maybe I'm wrong there. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of variation in the amount that you're given, is what I'm saying.
I see.
And so it is very tricky to find something right. So now I've got one pair that's too long, one pair that's too short, and those are both my club branded shorts. So I still need to do a little bit more work there.
Yeah, you got to be careful with like the brand identity if you don't want anything going wrong in like branded shorts, do you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't want to drop a bollock at park run and have my have the club logo on show. That would be poor form for a variety of reasons.
Anyway, let's move on.
Let's move on. So we are happy to confirm that aggressive marketing, it really does work for potential male listeners, as we talked about last time. At MartinOwen92 on the Twitter was looking for recommendations for podcasts. We were suggested, and he replied a little while later, that he was sold with the quote, "Run with your fucking dog, you pufter." So that will inform all of our ongoing marketing. Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, I'm sorry I dropped the P slur in the last episode. afterwards I thought, like, that's kind of bad, isn't it? But I am a member of the LGBTQ plus, so I feel like I can
say what the fuck you want.
I can say whatever I want. I could drop any slurs, but yeah, don't be gay. You run with your dog.
It worked. Got us a listener.
Or be really gay and run with your dog. I feel like there's two ends of the spectrum there.
Yeah. So that kind of more aggressive marketing is what we need to attract people. I mean, to be fair, we are kind of that anyway. We do a lot of that kind of thing. We do insult our listeners quite a lot.
We're incredibly homophobic and racist and bigoted, and it just works.
Just a basic statement about it.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
Thanks, Amy.
Rosie and Nelly at Rosie Wrinkles says, I have a complaint about this episode. Stuart said the dog went the wrong way around a tree. Clearly, this was human error, as dogs always go the right way. A point proven by the fact that the human always ends up following the dog.
Yeah, that is true, to be fair. I don't have a strong argument for that.
No, exactly. Like, if Pippin wants to go in a bush and then into a canal, I just have to follow her. You know, that's just the right way to go. Yep.
Rosie Wrinkles appears to be a dog's Twitter account, which is just fine. I mean, you've got dog Twitter accounts. Did you have the discussion when you set them up? Like, did we go first person or third person?
Oh, it's hard. It is difficult. I mean, I know lots of people do first person, and that's okay. But I didn't want to go into that level of crazy. That's a whole nother level, isn't it? That's a whole nother level. So, but then sometimes when I'm like, so Freya has, if you're following our dogs, Freya is in control of Finley's account, and I sort of run Pippin's, because it's a two-person, there's too much admin and stuff for us both to do both of them. But yeah, we tend to do it as if we're talking about the dogs. But then when I'm sometimes posting about me and Pippin, I'm like, whose perspective am I speaking from? Because I'm very aware the audience who are reading it, are they thinking that Pippin's talking?
Because it's running with Pip. Is it like, oh, you're all running with Pip? Or is it I'm running with Pip? It's very complicated. So another minefield.
It was Pippin's birthday once, so I posted on her Instagram, I posted something like, happy birthday to my best running buddy. And people were commenting saying happy birthday to me, like the human. And I was like, no, it's me, it's Amy. I'm talking, not Pippin. I'm talking about Pippin. So it does get a bit confusing, people's expectations.
Yeah.
So,
and sometimes you do see people that they start first person, they kind of slowly transition into third person because they realise I can't keep this shtick up for too long. Or they have to switch in between, and that gets complicated. Or you reply to someone, and you're replying to them, and they're replying as the dog, and it gets very odd.
I know. It's when dogs are talking on Pippin's Instagram, like replying on Pippin's Instagram, the dog is replying. I'm like, okay. Or like trying to chat Pippin up. Like I've had that. Like some dogs, like some dogs trying to chat Pippin up on our Instagram. I'm like, what is this? What world are we? Like, what is happening here? I feel like I'm going a bit mad, but yeah.
Yeah. That's an excellent tangent. Definitely worth talking about.
Yeah.
Let's think about that while we have some tea. Ooh. We are partnered with Bird and Blend Tea, and that means we'll tell you what tea we're drinking. And if you like the sound of it, you can go to runningisbs.com/tea, click on some links, buy some tea. Amy, what are you drinking and are you recommending?
I've gone for the old favourite, which is Bonfire Toffee. I just love it. It's my last serving, whatever it's called. Anyway, is it a serving? My last whatever from this bag of tea.
You got the dregs in there.
I know, yeah. So I'll be ordering some more. But it's my go-to. It's my absolute favourite. It smells so good. And you know how good it smells, because usually Freya thinks my teas smell disgusting. She'd be like, that smells like cat piss. And I'm like, thanks for that. It doesn't. But she's very sensitive to smells, and everything smells bad to her. But whenever I make my Bonfire Toffee, she's like, oh, that smells really nice. Is it Bonfire Toffee? I'm like, yeah, it is Bonfire Toffee.
She knows.
Yeah.
So she won't
Freya
drink it, but she likes the smell of it.
No, but if she likes the smell of it, it must mean it smells particularly good. So that's the old faithful, the old favourite. So yeah, what are you drinking?
I've got a tea that I've bought recently. I just tried for the first time just now, and I bought basically 100% for the name, Monkey Chops, which sounds like a nickname you'd give your dog, who's a little bit cheeky. It says, this banana tea is smooth, creamy, and simply the chops, which is not a phrase I'm aware of, but the chops. I don't know why it's called that. Basically, it's a banana tea. It's got a little bit of coconut. It's got a little bit of vanilla. Again, like last time, it's a very good, maybe like starter tea, because it's still a black tea, a little bit flavoured with banana, not overly like a horrible, nasty, sweet flavour banana. Just like a little bit of a banana, a little bit of vanilla. It's very pleasant.
I do want to try some of that. I did see it on the website. For some reason, I didn't get that one this time, but I think that's going to be another purchase. I do like banana flavored things, but not when they're super sweet and fake tasting. So
yeah, I've got an interesting fact about banana flavor. I'm reasonably sure it's true. Now I think about it, it doesn't sound true, but I'm pretty sure it is. You know how banana flavoured stuff doesn't taste like bananas?
Yeah.
Because that banana flavour was chemically created from an old strand of bananas that we don't have anymore because they all died. And so they had to like start mass growing a new kind of banana for the worldwide market, because all the bananas we get are basically the same. But that banana flavour is different because it comes from the old type of banana. I'm reasonably sure that's true. It's not something I've checked in a long while.
Regardless of whether that's true or not, that whenever anyone brings banana flavouring up, that's something I'm going to tell them now. It's just one of those things, isn't it? And the lie, if it is just a lie, will just
It sounds good though, doesn't it?
It does. It sounds true.
Yeah, so there's something we've all learned about bananas. If you go to the website, by the way, and buy some tea, if you use the code TISNOTBS on the thing, if you're a new customer, you get a free pouch of chocolate digestive tea, which is pretty good, isn't it?
It's chocolate digestive is a very nice tea. Again, a nice starter tea as well.
Oh, yes. Amy, what have you been up to?
Well, continuing on the strand of not really talking about running this episode, I've not been running because I've had COVID.
Oh, again?
Why are we still getting COVID in 2023?
Well, some of us are. I'm not. Never had it, mate. Oh, great. Never had it. You've
never had it?
Not as far as I know.
Oh my God. Well, I think I had it right at the very, very, very beginning of the pandemic before they were tests because I was short of breath.
You're like, I actually had it in 2017.
Yeah, I had it ages ago. And then I had during the pandemic, I had a bit of a cold and I had a weird test that kind of showed positive but then didn't. So maybe I had it then, but it wasn't too bad. This time, I got COVID and I have been horrifically unwell. You know, all through the pandemic, when people were worrying about COVID, I was like, well, you know, if you're fit and healthy, it's fine. You'll probably just have really mild symptoms or be asymptomatic, or you'll just be unwell for a few days. You know, so I've been reassuring myself and other people, don't be scared of it unless you've got underlying health conditions. Now, I don't have, as far as I know, any underlying health conditions.
Well, you do now.
I do now. Yeah, I do now.
I mean, they do say if you've had COVID before, you are now in a vulnerable group.
Yeah, I can believe that, and that's why I do think that I probably did have it before, and maybe during the pandemic, just asymptomatic or whatever. But yeah, I got a few days after the Canem, Freya was feeling a bit unwell and tested positive. Now, this is just ridiculous because Freya is very much a homebody, so she goes out to walk the dogs and to the shops for food. Mm-hmm. That is it. She doesn't really go out much. She works from home and stuff. She's got no reason to be socialising around lots of people because she's not into all that. She somehow gets COVID. No idea how.
Now, we were supposed to go for a trail run, and you didn't come along because you said, Freya's just got a really faint line on the test, so I'm just going to, take it easy just in case. And then 2 days later, you were absolutely fucked. 2
days later, so it started at night, I had these horrific shakes and body aches. The next day, I couldn't move. My body was in so much pain. And then, I've had it. It's coming up to 2 weeks now, and I'm only just over the last couple of days at the stage where I can go out and walk the dogs. I've been for a couple of short runs. And it felt like full-blown flu. I haven't been that unwell since I had proper flu. It was horrific. Absolutely horrific. I was so unwell. So unwell. And for the first few days, I wasn't even testing positive. It was only probably about 5 days later that I was testing positive, actually. Not that it matters, because I couldn't have gone out anyway or done anything. But yeah, so it's a bit of a pain in the arse because obviously I've got the Howham coming up, my next ultra in the Pegasus Slam.
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks' time, and I haven't been able to run for the past 2 weeks at all. And what really, really, really annoyed me about it, made me so frustrated, was that I assumed during doing this slam that after my ultras, and maybe it would change a bit further, further down the line, but after the first ultra, that I'd need some time to not run and recover. And actually, I think because I'd done, I was talking about in the last episode, I've done all this training and I felt really good during the race and stuff. And within a few days, I was ready to go out and run again. I was fine. My legs weren't hurting. I had no aches, no pains. I didn't feel fatigued. The last time I did my ultras, I felt super fatigued and was sleeping loads. I was just undertrained. And this time, I was I can go straight back into building up the training again. This is fantastic. I feel so confident. And then I get COVID and I can't run. And I was so pissed off. I was like, I did all this training to the stage where I can do an ultra and then feel fine within literally 2 days. I was up, I was walking the dogs, no pain, no nothing. I think on the third or fourth day I went out for a run and stuff, and I was like, I'm so annoyed that I've done all this training, I've got to the stage where I can do an ultra and go straight back into training, and then I get COVID, and I've literally spent the last 3 years without COVID, or if I did have COVID, whatever the type of COVID is that you don't feel like you've got it, and it's typical. Like, I'm doing this and and I was supposed to go away for Easter. It was Easter holidays. I booked annual leave. I was going to do all this running. I was going to go and see family. This couldn't have happened when I was at work and supposed to be in some meeting I didn't want to go to. No. It happens when I booked annual leave and when I actually want to do things and go out running and stuff.
Yeah, we were going to go and get a cheeky FKT today, but again, it's a really hilly one. I just said it's, I think we both just said, like, it's probably just not a good idea.
No. I can definitely feel it. Like, when I go for my runs, and obviously I run in places that are quite quiet, but I'm still coughing. It's not in my lungs. It's more like I'm very, very congested. Like, it feels like flu. So I've been really congested. So I've got this like constant nasal drip. I'm constantly coughing. And I just don't feel 100%. So I'm like, I'm okay. I'm probably going to go for a bit of a longer run tomorrow, like maybe 8 miles if I feel up to it. But I'm doing like loads of walking breaks. It's all very flat. And I don't think my lungs have been affected that badly. I think it has mainly been congestion, like in my head, like headaches and my nose.
Probably best not to like test them though too much.
No, exactly. That's the thing. Like, so I just thought anything super hilly, I'm just going to leave and just hope for the best with the Howam. I posted on the Howam Facebook, on the Pegasus Facebook group, and I was like, I am so upset and stressed because, I'm having to miss out on all this training, and people were like, don't worry about it, it's fine. But from the sounds of it, a lot of the Howam, I mean, you've done it, haven't you? The first bit is uphill, and then it's like a gradual downhill towards the end. So I can probably spend the first half just walking, and then I'll probably have warmed up enough and be feeling like maybe doing a bit of a run towards the end. But if there's loads of hills, I'll be walking them anyway. So
they're just long. Okay. And I think, as I said before, they're just long, and you're not really used to doing that many hills. So as you're a very professional coach, I would advise let your lungs recover. If you're up for going to the gym this week, batter your legs at the gym.
Yeah. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think
that's where you're going to need the strength.
Up to 2 days ago, I still had a very faint line, so I'm staying out of places like the gym until I get like a negative. But I did one, I think it was yesterday or something, and I think the line's pretty much gone. So I'll probably next week I'll test again. I don't want to spread it around. That's the other thing. I've been going out, but like places that are very quiet, because I know you can. Technically, I can legally. I can just go to the gym, but I'm not an arsehole, so I can just go to the gym.
Do some squats, you'll be fine.
Yeah. So that's been my bullshit, and it's just the timing is absolutely horrific and shit. Like, couldn't have.
But at least it's in the middle of the month. It's not at the beginnings when you've got the races.
That's true. If I couldn't have done I couldn't have done a race, say, this weekend, even though I am feeling a bit better. And the other thing, like I said, is just it's so silly. Like, like I said, Freya hardly goes out and does anything social, and she's the one that gets it. And neither of us are doing stuff where we're,
your fault bringing it back.
I know. There we go. So that's been my 2 weeks. It's been not running. I did a bit of a run today. The Pippin went completely nuts because she hasn't been for a run for ages. I think she was getting a bit fat. Maybe it's just me getting paranoid, but I think she's put on a bit of a belly because she's not been running. But her first run out, she kept stopping and sniffing the entire way. And normally that would irritate me a bit, and I'd be like, coaxing her along, like, come on, let's go. But I just let her do it because I'm like, you know what? Yeah. It's not. I'm sorry, Pippin, that you've not been able to run. So I feel bad. Yeah. So that's my week. How's your week been?
Well, still injured. Still haven't been to the physio. Still don't really have a good reason for why not. Again, it's one of those things. I've strongly considered it, and that's pretty good for me. So perhaps I'll do that at some point.
First stage.
I'm still increasing my distance though. Like, I've just done a 50k week again, which is quite nice. Even though, again, it's an injury there, but it only really hurts afterwards sometimes. So I'm like, yeah, it's fine. So I've been increasing my distance again. So that's nice. I actually did a speed session the other day as well. Can you believe it? A speed session with my running club. What a weird thing to do. What I tried to do, we're doing 1k reps, which is my kind of speed session. I don't like anything short. Anything under like 400 or 500 meters just injures me. 1k reps, ideal for me. I only did 3 because I ran there and I ran back. So I just did 3. But what I tried to do, I tried to run at the pace of our new club record marathon pace. Now, The guy who did your last race, the Canham, he finished second at that. 2 weeks later, ran a marathon, his first marathon, in 2:45.
Holy shit.
His first ever marathon. Sped up at the end. Last 10k, absolutely smashed. I tried to run at his pace, which was 3:51 kilometres, for 3 individual kilometres with a 2-minute rest, and I failed. I couldn't run at his marathon pace as a 1k rep, which is crazy. I used to be able to do that. I think I used to be able to run kilometres in like 3:40, maybe 3:30 now and then, but just couldn't get near him. And again, I only did 3. Everyone else did 4 or 5. Couldn't get near him.
He's an absolute machine, though. Like, to do what was second place at the Canham, it was like 5 hours something.
Yeah, and I just saw him at Park. And this morning, week after his marathon, just ran a parkrun PB. He lapped me on the first lap, did under 17 minutes for the first time. So,
but like to be that good at ultras and at 5Ks and marathons, like that's not normal. You're usually good at one or the other, not both.
The boy's ridiculous. So that's what I've been up to. Actually, been doing a little bit of training. No races, really.
I mean, it does. I will say, training works. I know
nobody
wants to hear it. Nobody wants to hear it, but like,
I've been planning ahead as well. I've been going through the summer and putting in my long runs. I only really plan long runs, and everything else is just like, yeah, whatever. Do you know what? I have been considering getting a coach.
Ooh.
That's something that I've just been thinking about it, and I can't quite make up my mind if it's a good idea, because I've got 2 big ultras this year. So I was just thinking, would it be useful to have that kind of advice and experience? Just to kind of guide me through that a little bit. The thing I'm coming up against is that my running's fairly irregular, because I've got my girlfriend, I've got my dog to consider as well, and they have to do certain things. They're running at different times. If William needs to rest, I can't run with him. If I need to look after him, I might not have to do this. I've got lots of things booked in that I want to do, some races, some certain runs. So I just think if I got a coach, I would spend the whole time saying, here are all the things I've already planned, here are all the things I can't do, and then every week it would just be coming up with excuses of why I haven't done the thing that they've said, and then they're changing the plan for next week, and then me sort of do. And I just feel like I'm not sure if that would be useful or not.
Yeah, I personally think for like, I feel like coaching, from what I can see, is maybe useful if you're like at a really high level, but also, I get it, some people are doing it for these really, really long races and stuff like that.
I think it's a lot more common. I know a lot more normal runners are getting coaches now, and it's working for them. It's doing really well.
I feel like for an ultra, if you just want to finish it, I feel like the main thing is doing the long runs and then getting all the other stuff in at some point. But I feel like it's those long runs that are really, really, really important. And I think the coaches, they're more like, okay, obviously you do your long run and you do this long run and blah, blah, blah. But then also it's like, okay, but then you also go to the gym and then you also do these runs during the week and stuff like that. And I think like the main thing just to perform at an ultra and finish it is the long runs. I think that's it.
Probably.
I think they're like the really important bits. And if you want to do really well at an ultra, like there's some people I know that are doing ultras that are winning them or getting second or third. I get that, because then, you have to up your performance. But if the aim is to finish it, I think you can do it yourself.
Yeah, I just wonder if that kind of, as I said, the kind of experience aspect would be useful. Someone to chat to about it and someone to give, good advice as well.
Yeah.
Is that useful? So if anyone has any experiences with coach, basically, just help me out here. Just help me make that decision, because I think it could be useful, but I feel like I would spend a lot of time making excuses for why I didn't do the thing, and kind of just end up doing mostly my own thing anyway.
Yeah.
So I cannot make up my mind. So please help me out with that. In the meantime, you can support this podcast and my potential coaching by going to patreon.com/runningisbullshit and donating money to us every month. Amy, we are back on form. Don't worry. I have dragged us back from the abyss. I am back to what I know best. And here is everyone that has donated to us this month. J. Hales, Victoria Magnus, Kel Ryder, Steve Robson, Dawn Shepherd, Karen Hamilton, James Lampert, H. Chartley Neverson, David Yellow, Mag Tito, Claire Dina, Erin, Shaw Chambolic, Adolf, Matt Jones, Sandra Heinzer, Victoria Dick, Raymond Quinn, Lee Wood, Tony Howes, Gordy Thelwell, Samantha Benson, Jonathan Carter, Ian Thompson, Stuart Stevens, David, AP Matt Lees, Matt Newbury, Carl Flynn, and Gary Thompson, Len Martin, Dewi, Matt H, Francis Howell, Ivor Hewitt, Jay, Claire Davis, Elizabeth, Shaban, Sophie, Nichols, Matt Garner, Martin, Josie, Matt, Kathy, Debbie, Hurley, Penny, Simpson, Jason Spinks, Andy Robbins, Kath Everard, Gregory C, Paul Hibbert, Trish Alton, Anthony Howe, Brian Simpson, Nikki Genders, Matt Burrows, Martin Kaplan, Rachel Bullmore, Jenny Tamler, Sebi, Ruth KP, Bernadette McCarthy, Amanda Barry Hind, Gail Seal, Liz Reese, Rich Skirm, Darren Roberts, Catherine Fenton, Adam Atkinson, Lisa Gibbons, Mark Gilmore, Karen Blade, Vicky Robbins, Luke Daniel, Julie Page, Kirk Shepherd, Andy Nichols, Viola Grepp, Maria Wicks, Jewel Running, Sophie Jake, Sam Wally, Ian Hales, Sherry Grubbs, Elliot Line, Cassie Jones, Rachel Bentley, Noms Dawson, Angela Foster Swales, Matt Jerzioski. Don't forget to get in touch with your running bullshit on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. Just search Running is BS. Let us know why you particularly hate running this week.
Somebody who did just that is at Jay Runs Wales. And Jay says, Sundays BS, Manchester Marathon, big 29-minute PB for me and first time getting sub 4, but at the cost of my poor nipples. Oh no. Never had this much trouble, but felt irritation from mile 8, then could see blood from mile 15. That's not good. Mile 15 as well, fucking hell. All I could do is look and laugh about it.
What? That's not all you can do.
No. Used my top at the end to wave like a flag and was shouting, "You are all looking better than I did" at the end. We have a picture.
I mean, that's the episode cover, so everyone can see that.
I feel like this picture, it looks like your nipples are like on your top. Like it looks like like they have been removed.
It looks like he's been shot. It's
horrific.
I mean, how is he so happy? All I could do is look and laugh. No, what? If I get a bit of nipple irritation, I'm running with I'm holding the t-shirt off me, and I've never got to blood stage. I don't think I've ever had blood. But when it starts to irritate, I've held the t-shirt away from my body, and I would take it off. Running with that much blood and just being so happy about it is wrong. It's wrong.
Could you imagine the shower afterwards?
Oh my God.
That's horrific. I feel like you're going to need skin grafts after that.
He's going to be down to the bone. Jesus.
Horrific.
And he's so happy about it.
Yeah, he's loving life.
God.
It's like twofold as well. It's like the pain, but then it's also the embarrassment because it's really obvious as well.
But there's always plenty, isn't there? There's always plenty. A big marathon, you'll always see a few men with it. It's when his is just like the gunshots. It's something when you get the blood and it's just dripping down as well with all the sweat. That's what it's. Oh my God.
Horrific.
He needs to pay attention to the very first episode of this podcast, which I believe was entitled "Nipples Are Bullshit." We've been sorry, I know you forget about these things, Amy, but we've been banging that drum for a long while.
Yes.
We've also had an email. It says, "Your podcast last week caused me complete and total bullshit. I was off for my run after work, headed home. The weather was warm and I was not thrilled about that, but I figured I'd get through. My run started as I finished up a different podcast I've been listening to. Your podcast is next in the queue, and just as it starts, everything goes silent. I'm just over 3k into my run. I look down at my watch to try and see what's happening, and my watch is completely dead. What bullshit is this? I know I had enough battery power. A few moments later, I saw the telltale sign of the Garmin logo, meaning my watch had crashed trying to play your podcast. Once the watch had fully rebooted, made you look. Once the watch had fully rebooted, all of my data for this workout is completely fucked. What's worse is I can't seem to get the audio settings to try and get a podcast to play. After pressing all the buttons and muttering under my breath as I ran by some distressed locals, I was finally able to restart your bullshit. I finished my run, but now I have 2 separate workouts that aren't complete, and Training Peaks is saying that my run was non-compliant. Bullshit. Lots of love from Japan, Stephen. Non-compliance, Stephen. You have not complied with Garmin telling you how to live your life.
Exactly. I think
Fucking
that's why
Garmin.
it probably crashed, like, because we always sort of rag on Garmin for being so demanding. It's like, right, we're going to take it a step further. We are not going to allow this negative propaganda.
Yeah. They're talking about us like this, we will not let you listen to them. No. It's like Apple. Like, we know what's best. You're not going to do that anymore. Garmin likes to tell you how to live your life.
It's definitely going to crash again.
Once again, wind your neck in, Garmin.
Yeah. Is the bullshit running news?
Wow. And already, we've really kind of banged through everything to get to the news.
The big news. There's been some big news. Like, usually we struggle to find news, and this week's just been bam, bam, bam.
A lot of news.
So I'm sure everyone's seen this story about a top Scottish ultra runner who has been disqualified from a race for using a car during part of the route. This has been everywhere on social media. It's been all over.
Loved piping in on this.
Oh yeah, everyone's got an opinion.
And here's ours on a podcast.
Yeah. Here you go. You're just going to hear it all over again. But in case you've been living under a rock, we're gonna lay out what happened for you. Like I'm saying that like I was there and I was the reporter. No, I'm just gonna tell you this about this BBC.
This is now a true crime podcast.
Yeah. Joe Zakrzewski finished third in the 2023 GB Ultras Manchester to Liverpool 50-mile race, but it's thought that she travelled by car for 2.5 miles. So the article says it is thought, but I think it's pretty much been confirmed by everyone and herself that she did. Yeah, she travelled by car for 2.5 miles, which firstly astounded me because I'm like, when I first read this, I was like, 2.5 miles in an ultra, that's like nothing, is it?
Yeah.
I'd want to go 10 miles.
It's one of the many weird things about this.
Yeah, the 2.5, but it will make a bit of sense. So she says she made a massive error by accepting the trophy for third place. So this has really got people's backs up that not only did she do that, which if you'd not placed, I guess would just be one of those things, and maybe some people would even think, oh, it's not a big deal, it's just 2.5 miles in a 50-mile race, whatever. But yeah, she accepted the trophy for third place. She said her actions were not malicious and the incident was caused by a miscommunication. So what she said happened was she'd become lost on the course around the halfway mark when her leg began to feel sore and she started to limp. So the pain became so bad that when she saw a friend on the side of the course, she accepted a lift in his car to the next checkpoints to tell the marshal that she was pulling out of the race. But she said when she got to the checkpoint to tell them that she was pulling out, they said, "You will hate yourself if you stop." And she agreed to carry on in a non-competitive way, which is quite interesting because I don't know, like I feel like even me, who's always going to be in an ultra, I am finishing either dead last or like the last few ones. Yeah. I feel like if I got a car 2.5, for me there'd be no point. I know it is only 2.5, but I just feel like well, I haven't ran all that way, so what's the point? But I don't know. I get it though. Like maybe some people would think, I've only gone 2 miles, I'll just finish for the sake of finishing. It's still, 48 miles. I get it. She said she made sure she didn't overtake the runner in front. She didn't want to interfere with their race, so to be fair. She said, "I hold my hands up. I should have handed the trophy back and not had pictures taken, but I was feeling unwell and spaced out and not thinking clearly." Yeah, that's where I'm like, I sort of get it, but at the same time, I don't know. That's where it gets tricky, and that's the thing that has mostly pissed people off. The fact she had the trophy. There is a photo of her holding the trophy and smiling, and I guess there are the mitigations around that, not the excuses for her, but the mitigations around that are that she was jet lagged. I think she lives in Australia and came all the way to Liverpool to do this race, and ultras fuck you up. Ultras do completely mess you up, and I guess everyone says, if she's carrying on a non-competitive way, you cross the line, everyone says, "Oh, well done." You say, no, I didn't finish the race. The first thing you should say is you cross the line, if indeed you even cross the line. But for whatever reason, she didn't do that. And she just I guess she just went along with stuff. Because I guess people were like, here's a trophy, here's a photo, you do this. And she's just gone, sure, whatever. I don't really know what's going on. Yeah, I think I think it all depends on how she was feeling when she finished and how that went about. Because if people were literally putting a trophy in her hand and then getting her to take a picture, I can imagine after running that far that maybe if you're a bit spaced out, you might just be like, yeah, whatever. Like, I kind of get it. Wayne Drinkwater, who's the director of GB Ultras, said after the event there was no attempt by Joe to make us aware of what had happened and to give us an opportunity to correct the results or return the third prize trophy during the course of the subsequent 7 days. So this wasn't reported until 7 days later, and that's like the next day or when I got home. If that, I'm talking like this would ever happen to me, but if something like that happened to me, by the time I'd gotten home the next day, you'd probably be like, "Oh shit!" and ring them.
Because you'd look at it on Strava.
Yeah, and you'd
because this was on a Strava.
And you'd be like, "Oh, you know what? I've done something really silly." I mean, maybe she was. The thing is, I think maybe she was too embarrassed. But then at the same time, if you're a professional athlete, then these things happen.
That is the thing about this. Like, the article doesn't really say it in this, but she is a pro. She's really experienced. She's got national records. She knows her shit. She knows what she's doing. I think that's why Scottish Athletics kind of came out, not quite defending her, but saying, like, we need to talk to her because something really strange has happened. Because obviously they know her so well. She's got no reason to do this. She's not some random person doing their first ever ultra who think they can get away with it, or some random person in China who doesn't understand running culture and just thinks, well, fuck it, if you can get away with it, it's fine.
Yeah.
She knows what she's doing. And for her to do this, as you said, to take her 2.5 miles doesn't make sense. No. So that's why there's just so many strange things around this that, and people are just furious about it.
Yeah. So she did say, I'm an idiot and I want to apologise to Mel, who I think was the actual third place. The person who finished in for third place. It wasn't malicious, it was a miscommunication. I would never purposefully cheat, and this was not a target race, but I don't want to make excuses. Sounds like some excuses book.
I mean, no, it's fair.
I get it.
You can give reasons, yes, but they're not necessarily excuses.
Yes, I totally get that.
So we tweeted about this, and I'm glad to say it's actually one of our kind of most engaged tweets we've had for a very long time. And basically I was just saying that, you know, people are going to be angry and disappointed and confused by this, and that's fine because that's a natural reaction. But the main point was, you don't have to be a dick about it. Yeah. Like, she knows she's cheated. She has been punished. It's been taken off her. She's in the news everywhere. Everyone is having a go at her. There's no need to be a dick and just to pile on further. No, okay, you don't have to forgive her necessarily. You don't, and also it's kind of got nothing really to do with anyone else, but a lot of people were just reacting with anger and aiming it at her, calling her a cheat and a liar and a terrible person. And it's just like, there's just no need. It doesn't affect you that badly. There are reasons for it. And, actually, and even straight away, I think the original tweet from the woman who did actually finish third just said she was in a cut-off for 2.5 miles. I don't think we knew at the time whether she'd actually cut 2.5 miles off the course. She might have just been in the car, gone 2.5 miles, gone back to where she started. I don't think we knew that at the time. So she may have got out of the car where she left the course, which in which cases might have been okay, but probably still wasn't. So it's just, there's no need, when these things happen, there's just no need to be a dick.
And it sometimes gets really personal as well, like commenting on her job really. And stuff. And I just think, okay, so worst possible scenario, she purposefully cheated, okay, and she did this and so she could get third prize and get, even if there's like prize money or whatever, which it being an ultra, I can't imagine there's a lot if there is prize money. In the grand scheme of life and things, it's not the most horrific, immoral thing in the world. Of course cheating's wrong, of course it's bad for the sport, blah 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 blah. But then comment on that person and their actions as an athlete. There's no need to get into being personal and commenting on her day, because she's a doctor, like a medical doctor, right? It's like commenting on her day job and stuff. Yeah, sure, people might want to talk about the ethics of going in a car and doing things like that. But I think when it gets personal, there's no need. There's worse things happening in the world. There's no need to be getting personal about these things. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. And
people say, we call into question her previous results. Well, that's a job for Scottish Athletics, and they will look into that now. They will, she set records and things where it's applicable. They will go back and have a look at things just to double check. And her employer, presumably the NHS, may well have a little look into some things as well. I would guess they probably won't find anything, because cheating in a race is very different from cheating as a doctor. I don't know how
I hate stuff like that. I hate the idea that if you cheat in a race and then your employer could be, because it's not like you're taking, even like things like taking banned substances and drugs, even that, I don't know, it's so many worlds away from your professional practice. She hasn't hurt anyone. She's not pushed someone into a canal so that she can get third place, they shouldn't be investigating her in a professional capacity in that sense, in terms of her job as a doctor. Yeah, investigate her past results, whatever. But surely we can see this is not a black and white thing. It's a grey area in terms of, yeah, it might be wrong in the context of competition and in context of rules, like breaking any rules in a competition is wrong and you get disqualified and whatever else might happen. But that doesn't mean she needs to be investigated by her employer. Like, come on, get a grip. Yeah,
it's like she is going to be remembered for this for a long time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And, if we do kind of accept her reasons for it, you got to feel a bit of sympathy for her, that she's going to be remembered for this for a long time.
I just feel sympathy that this is just becoming like a massive attack on her character and stuff in such depth. Like, yeah, her character as a professional athlete, her character as an ultra runner, maybe, yeah, that's going to tarnish. If you do make a big mistake like this, whether it's, a mistake or if you do something like this, of course that's going to affect your reputation. But in terms of the other aspects of her life, like, that's just going too far. There's no need for it. Like, come on. Yeah.
So we'll move on to some even worse news. So let's go with the other big story this week. It's about black spectators being targeted at their Boston Marathon cheer zone. I guess allegedly we should potentially say, because there's no clear proof on this.
I mean, I don't think Boston police are going to come and sue us.
Well, you never know. I put the word in now, so it's fine. We can say whatever we want. So there was a large police presence at mile 21 in Newton during the Boston Marathon as cops lined up their bikes between a cheer section and the race course.
And you could see I saw the videos of this, and you can very clearly see that the police are on one side of the course and that side, and they are sort of with their bikes, so they're using their bikes as sort of a barrier, and then they're stood behind their bikes all along one side. And I was following this on Twitter, so there's been, as usual, if you want to make your day worse, just read the comment section on stuff like this.
Never read the comments.
Just read the Twitter threads, because they are insane. But okay, so it looked like, yes, there was a very heavy police presence, and it did seem over the top. And I think if you're a black person who has experienced this sort of constant racism throughout your life, I probably think you're an expert at recognizing it. Yeah. I'm most likely to believe people who are sort of experiencing these things. If you're gay, you're probably going to be an expert at knowing what homophobia is, because you've experienced it so much. So I am of course inclined to believe those people that were there experiencing it, because that is going to be, that they've had those experiences all their life. So
the Boston police were responding. They said there were 3 incidents of people encroaching onto the road to block runners.
Yes.
Which I'm pretty sure, I feel like happens in a lot of places where there are cheer zones, where there are lots of spectators. They just gradually work their way into the road a little bit for the high fives and to pass things over. And that's the thing that the Runner's World article in particular, I don't think it went into enough depth on, like, did this happen anywhere else? Were there incidents on other parts of the course? And did the police respond the same? Because that's the important thing.
Yeah.
Was the response consistent all across the course, or was it targeted at these cheer zones?
So this is where I was trying to piece it together on Twitter. So I'm just going to tell you what I've read on Twitter, and that might be wrong. People lie on the internet to further their agenda, etc. So I'm just going to say
what?
I know, it's crazy. So from the stuff I read on Twitter, there was one side of the argument which was saying that, yes, they were going into the road and they were doing confetti cannons, and they were saying this is the 10th anniversary of the Boston bombing and the confetti cannons were really scary. The thing is, people like that, you click through to their Twitter profile and they've got like a load of Trump stuff and things like that. So when these things suddenly are put into context, you're like, things to say is that, yes, they were going into the road. Yes, they were doing their confetti cannons, but the people who were chiming in who had run it and were at different parts of the course were saying confetti cannons are really common along all the course. Because that was something else people were saying, like, oh, it's wet and the confetti was slippery underfoot and all this. Well, there's a guy out sweeping. I think one of their guys was out sweeping. But also, like, there was confetti cannons at other parts of the course. So why aren't they being policed in the same way? They were also saying that people at other parts of the course go outside. They were also saying people at other parts of the course were going into the road and hugging people. I think that's just something that happens at marathons, it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
They were also saying, and I'm not too familiar with Boston, of course, but they were saying that this was mainly like a quite posh, mainly white neighborhood, and the people that were living in the houses were complaining that they were being too loud and they were playing music too loud and it was shaking their house and all that. It's like, come on, it's a marathon. Like that's awesome. Like, most city marathons I've run, they've been like live bands and stuff and drummers. I'm sure it's shaking everyone.
They would love cheer zones like that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So yeah, I think the issue is that they were being targeted, because there is an argument that maybe they want people out of the road and maybe they don't want people running in and doing this and that. But okay, but you need to do that all the way along the course. And that there was also somebody saying that there's like a sort of college housing area, with like fraternities living around there, and they're all like, they get really drunk on Boston Marathon Day and they go into the course and they play loud music, but they weren't being policed in the same way. Again, this is just what I'm reading from Twitter, so whether this is actually true, I don't know. But they were saying that in that sort of area, that they were the college sort of frat boys were doing basically the same thing, but they weren't being policed. So whether or not they were running into the road or not, I don't think really matters, because it's happening all along the course. What matters is that they were being specifically targeted and almost boxed in. So they were like stopped from going into the road, but then I think they were boxed in all the way around, which is we call it like kettling in the UK, don't you?
I don't think it was quite as extreme as that. But
no, but the idea of blocked, the idea of being like boxed in, rather not just sort of told and put in a barrier between you and the road, but actually like to be surrounded, is a different type of thing, isn't it?
It's very strange.
Yeah.
Something I did like from this as well, one of those groups, I believe they're called the Pioneers, they're going to be setting up their own Boston Marathon, because they were saying awesome. The Boston Marathon isn't really in Boston. Like, I think they said something like 97% of the course isn't actually in Boston. It's in lots of other towns, and it avoids a lot of the black neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So they're going to put on their own race. I think they're calling it the 26-point True Marathon, which is very nice, around actual Boston neighborhoods, which would reflect a lot more of the population of Boston.
Oh, I think this is the thing as well, because a lot of people in the comment threads, again, I'm not familiar with the geography of Boston and America in general in that detail, but they were saying that this area isn't actually Boston, and like I said, it is a very affluent white neighborhood, and that is another reason for almost like these racial tensions and being targeted, and that the residents were the ones calling the police for people being too loud, and it's like, come on.
Side note here, on the Boston Marathon, there's a documentary on Netflix about the Boston bomber 10 years ago. Really, really good. Yeah. Really interesting. Absolutely bonkers story. Not something I really thought about or noticed at the time, but yeah, incredible story.
Well, the funny thing is as well, they were saying like, oh, well, it's because they don't want people running into the road and doing this because it's the 10th anniversary of the Boston bomber. The Boston bomber was fucking white, wasn't he? Yeah. Not the people you should be racially profiling. Come on. Of course, Runner's World, classy as always, their take-home story from the Boston Marathon was about a runner shitting in someone's front lawn. Love that. I'm glad to say that all the comments were roundly telling Runner's World to fuck off. Like, imagine how long you'd be worrying and holding it in before finally just dropping your shorts right in a front yard in front of everyone. I mean, come on. It's like a nightmare situation, and for a worldwide running website to call you out is pretty shitty. Could you imagine? Could you imagine you're having the worst day of your life and you're having to shit in someone's front lawn?
The tension.
And then Runner's World plaster you all over the front page.
I'm not sure they did it personally. I think they said there was CCTV of it, but they didn't use a photo. They didn't use a name. But even so, like, you would be running along for either it's like a snap thing that it has to happen now, or you've just like clenched for 2 hours and you're like, fuck, I'm just gonna have to go. I have to go. That is awful, and just to have to do it in front of all those people is horrible. And like all the comments were just saying, fuck off, stop, leave this poor person alone. Yeah,
and it's, that we have talked about previous stories where people have been shitting in people's lawns, but that's been people going out and literally doing it every day. Like,
that's like an intentional ongoing thing.
Yeah, this is just somebody who's, I mean, it's not nice, it's a bit gross, but it's just one of those things. You don't really want to be on one of the most popular running websites in the world, do you?
Oh, yeah, that's harsh for someone. Sorry, they had a bad race.
Yep.
We also got sent an Instagram post of a woman who finished Boston. She looked back at the photos and found another woman also wearing her number. Because she searched by her number on the photos, and this other woman turned up. Yeah. Now, this other woman's like smiling at the cameras, posing with her medal, and it just makes it really unclear whether she's intentionally copied a number, which you'd think should probably like not pose for photos and things, or whether she's just bought it somewhere and is just naive enough to think that it's fine. Like she obviously didn't get a t-shirt at the end. She got the medal because they hand those out. I think the t-shirts are separate, and she just didn't know any better. And you think, like, for a marathon runner, Boston is a big enough deal to people must know how to get in. Like, there's a qualification process, or there's ways you can pay your way in. And you'd think if you're a marathon runner, you must know about that. But if she's not American, she's not living in America, perhaps she doesn't know. I kind of assume someone has sold it to her, and perhaps as part of like a travel deal, because those things do exist. I know for New York especially they do that. So they've sold it to her as a travel deal. It's like, here's your number. And they've just like fraudulently made a number and made a shitload of money off her. But imagine going through your photos and seeing someone else wearing your number.
I mean, I don't know whether he'd still be covering it or whether he's still active, but that Marathon Investigates, I used to love that blog. So he used to investigate people who copied bibs and a lot of like Run Disney stuff, because there were so many people at Run Disney who were like copying
But how would you know?
Because
like the bib details is just going to give the details of the original runner. How would you ever identify this person?
But this is what I'm thinking in terms of like, oh, why would you pose for photos? Some of those people who were, in the end, they did admit to like copying stuff and like running in somebody else's bibs and all that, and all of that. They would just brazenly pose for photos. Like, they didn't give a shit, and that's why they were caught, because he'd just go through and like find these people over and over again. So I mean, hopefully, it's just a naivety thing, and she just bought it off a dodgy travel agent or something.
She's been conned somewhere.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Weird.
And something a bit closer to home, moving on from Boston, the Great Island Run turned out to be not so great, as runners were misdirected early on, and the male and female winners both broke their world records. Hey! But the misdirection cut 1.5 kilometres off the distance. And 2,000 runners who took part in the Irish Championship race were left a bit short. So the Irish Athletic Association has since said the results will stand for the championship race, albeit with a big asterisk. That's a really fucking big asterisk.
Oh, yeah.
1.5 kilometres. And the 465 runners in that category will be offered complimentary places at an upcoming national 5K, 5 mile or 10 mile road race. Really odd distances. Nothing on the plebs at the back, though. Yeah,
there was 2,000 people altogether, but 460 of those were in like the championship race. So they're like the elite club runners. So they'll get a free race at one of the other championships so they can compete. But there's nothing so far on everyone else, because obviously a lot of the other people are saying like, well, we should get a refund because we didn't run 10K.
But it's like a big, in terms of like the percentage of your kilometres, like 1.5 off a 10K is quite a lot. You know? But
again, it's one of those things potentially, again, like we always say, terms and conditions. I doubt you have a leg to stand on. You probably can't get your money back on that, unfortunately.
No, it's just a shitty thing to do by the race organisers, isn't it? Because they fucked up. They should hold their hands up and they should offer me. Like I said, if maybe it was a marathon, maybe then you get away with the masses being like, well, we're not going to reimburse you. It's a longer race, but for 10K to miss out on like 1.5K of that, like, nah. Yeah,
at first they were just said like the results have been like voided completely and it's not going to count. But then I think they realised, oh shit, we kind of need to have a 10K championships. Yeah. So I guess we'll put those results in as they are, but just like big asterisks to say like wasn't actually a 10K. Sorry, everyone.
So I take it they didn't break any world records either.
No, they didn't actually do 10K in 26 minutes, unfortunately, for them.
Okay.
Never mind. And we are recording before the London Marathon, so I'm sure we'll have some shitty costume records for you all next time. Oh, God.
I need to enter the ballot, because the only, like, I've been entering the ballot every year anyway, but now I have a new motivation for entering the ballot, which is I'm going to get in. Yeah, I'm going to get the record for running as a teabag.
I in my head, I've already designed the costume. I know how to make it.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
So I need to. I've got like a few days to enter the ballot, haven't I? It's not one day anymore or anything like that. You get a bit of time. So yeah, I'm going to enter the ballot. See how I do.
This needs to happen.
So Stuart, what have you got coming up next?
I'm going to start actually doing some proper long runs. And because I need to do long runs, obviously in the next 2 weeks, I've got 2 1-mile races lined up.
The perfect.
Yeah, because of course, and that just ruins everything for the next few days as well. So that ruins my mileage. I've got a hill race on Tuesday as well. So again, I'm not going to be able to really do any long runs because I've got races to do again. So
nice.
Good for me. I love a mile race though. I'm still trying to encourage anyone that hasn't done a mile race. You need to get into them because you have not known pain until you've done a 1 mile.
Yep. No way.
If you like pushing yourself, that's the best way to do it.
The best mile races are the local ones you do where kids are involved as well, because those fuckers will just overtake you like it's nothing, you know.
And they will absolutely batter the first 200 meters, and then they'll just cry.
Yeah.
But I know an adults that have done that as well. So, how about you? I guess nothing.
Yeah, I've got the Howham, like I've always spoken about. So that's 2 weeks time, something like that. Yeah. I'd lost track of times. 30 miles. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be on the start line. Hopefully going to finish it. I'm more worried about injuries now because, like I said, I've been sat on the sofa, literally just sat on the sofa for a week and a half, like not moving, not going even for walks. So everything's like a bit tight and a bit achy. So that's my main concern is I'm sure I can do the distance, even if I walk the whole bloody thing. But yeah, my main concern is I don't want to get injured and have to pull out. So we'll see. Yeah,
and for people that do listen along as these come out, we have rejigged the fortnightly schedule a little bit because, you know, if Amy's traveling around doing ultras, we don't want to record on that weekend. So I think there's probably going to be a week delay to the next episode, just so we've got plenty of time so Amy can give us a full, proper rendition of what happened in these races. So it might not be strictly be fortnightly for the next few months, but, you know, sorry.
Yeah.
If you've enjoyed the bullshit, visit runningisbs.com, see the show notes, the links from this episode, and the whole back catalogue, as well as links to our Patreon, our merch stores, and our social medias. Goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah, I don't want to drop a bollock at park run.